Okay. Hi. Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Erynne Elkins. I am the INA new administrative assistant, and I'm so happy to welcome you all to this month's INA June, town hall. I'm going to let you all know that this meeting is being recorded, and unless you are speaking, I'd ask that you please keep your microphone muted. And so before we get into the core of the topic this month, which is wellness, let's go around and introduce ourselves. So as I stated before, I'm Erynne Elkins. I am the INA Administrative Assistant. I also identify myself as a wellness advocate. I am definitely on board for all things that help individuals live their best lives and just have an overall holistic, balanced lifestyle. So I'm really excited about this topic. I also am a nanny alum, also known as a former nanny. So I'm very delighted to still be connected to the nanny community in this capacity. I am a writer, and I also am an avid bicyclist, and I own a t-shirt business that empowers women. So I am going to pass the microphone to Helen. If you would please unmute yourself and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, I'm Helen McCarthy. I'm a qualified NNEB nanny from England. I reside in London. I won the Nanny of the Year in 2016 from the INA, and I am currently the second vice president of the INA to become the co-vice president with Sue Downey later on in this year. I have been in the nanny industry for 30 years, and yeah, I also run UK Nanny Limited, which is a events company just for nannies.
Wonderful. Helen, so happy to have you here. Real quick, before I pass the mic to someone else, why is wellness important to you? What gets you excited about wellness?
Well, I have put on so much weight since lockdown. Like everybody else. And then the homeschooling happened last year in the job I was in, and sitting around really ruined my coccyx and my back. So the chiropractor didn't work with that. She cured my sciatica that I'd had, but the coccyx weren't being cured by that. So now I'm go to the osteopath. So wellness for the osteopath. And I have just signed up to a company called ARC here in the UK, and they are a fitness, diet, well-being. So it really works well with our whole wellness situation. And wellness for me is going to the head, and this sounds terrible and quite snotty, I suppose, but going and having a blow dry on my hair every week, because now because I work nights, I've got daytimes free. So yeah, going to the spa, going and having my hair done once a week is sort of my positive thinking.
I love that, Helen. Thank you so much for your transparency. And I definitely am an advocate for all things that fall under the umbrella of wellness. So if that means giving yourself some much deserved self-care by blow drying your hair and making sure that you look fabulous, which you always do, or recognizing that there are certain parts of your body that need attention due to the impact of this global pandemic. I applaud your sense of self-awareness and attentiveness. So thank you so much. All right, let's pass the microphone to, is it Rima? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Okay, excellent. Please introduce yourself and also share why wellness is important to you and why you're excited to be here.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Rima Haysam, and I'm a CEO of Stanford Park Nannies, we're located in Menlo Park, California. Formerly a nanny, administrator, manager, and in the end, I am the lead of Stanford Park Nannies. Wellness. I think from very early age, when I was a teenager, whenever I felt like I'm overwhelmed with my thoughts, you know how it is with teenagers, they have so much going on in their heads. I used to go for runs, and I was an athlete at school, and I noticed how much healing it brings to my mind. It works wonders. You know, it's just, I realized that there is a direct connection. If you feel like you're experiencing anxiety, whenever you go and you wash the dishes or you vacuum the floor, somehow it goes away. So it's pretty much like, all the bad thoughts that coming in actually can have a way out with a physical activity, with something meaningful that we do physically. And it doesn't have to be exactly vacuum floors. It can be gardening, or it can be helping your elderly neighbor picking up groceries. So I think we are very much connected physically and mentally with what we do for others. And that's about it. So I'm a big advocate, not only for physical activities, but also helping each other. And every time we're helping our clients or nannies finding another position, it makes me feel good, right? It's not just words, congratulations on your new role. It is a true feeling of being able to help somebody.
Rima, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. I love the mind-body connection that you made, because that pretty much sums up, holistic well-being, holistic wellness. And I love how you are able to connect, an everyday activity or task, such as cleaning one's home, I love how you made the connection of, that action, that exercise made you feel better, so now there's a positive association to, beautifying your space, having it be clean and orderly. I also love the community connectivity aspect that you brought up in terms of wellness, about how you're right, we are all connected. And, it's our wellness can be enhanced or amplified in more than just words, and more than just, high five, congratulations. It's, oh, how can I help you with this? I love your awareness about community as it applies to, our neighbors, whether they be in an apartment building, a home, in community. So thank you so much for that. Really excited to have you here. And let's actually, before I turn it over to Elizabeth, also thank you. You mentioned clients. I love that wellness component that you brought in, because it expands and adds some humanity to that business model, where it's not so much transactional. So I know, as a certified breathwork facilitator, when I am engaging with and servicing my clients, it's much more bigger than, this is the time, this is the fee. So thank you so much for speaking to that. All right. And Elizabeth, if you would unmute yourself. Hi there. And tell us a little bit about yourself and what gets you excited and committed to wellness.
Yeah, so my name's Elizabeth. I have been working with young children and families for about 15 years now. I'm actually at work right now, and it's nap time. So I'm happy that I got my introduction in, and I may have to leave the meeting at any moment, but I'm glad to be here now. So when I think about wellness, the first thing I think of is that metaphor of filling your cup first before you can pour into others. I have a background in trauma-informed care and working with foster children with special needs. And so I used to think it was selfish, that wellness, I'm always that giver, that caretaker. And I thought that wellness, personal wellness, was selfish until I realized, no, that's actually more important. I think it was Helen who said something about getting her hair, blow dried or whatever. And absolutely, if that's what you need to fill your cup, then that's what you do. There's no wrong answer when you're talking about personal wellness. So I'm super excited to be here and hearing what others have to say.
Yay. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And thank you so much for speaking to the misperception of self-care and how sometimes it can be accused of being selfish, when in turn, when we fill our own cups first, we're able to show up not only for ourselves, but we're able to show up for others in an optimal way. So very excited to have you here. And last but certainly not least, let's pass the microphone over to Marcia.
Hey, everybody. I'm Marcia Hall, the INA Executive Director, and super glad to be here with you today on this lovely Wisconsin afternoon. As you can see, I'm outside. I'm not normally outside in these things, but my kids are on summer break and they are currently in our little pool, and I didn't want to leave them alone in the pool. So just enjoying the summer day. It's actually perfect weather-wise for me. But as far as and I apologize if you hear my dogs bark, they bark at like every car that passes by our house. As far as what like I understand wellness as and what's important to me about wellness, I mean, so many things that you guys said, I totally agree with. I think it's not just about, one thing it's about something to everybody different. And I think that's what's so interesting about it. It could be spiritual wellness, it could be emotional wellness, it could be relational wellness. There's all sorts of different wellness that you can talk about. For me lately, I'll just being real, like it's my journey with wellness has been about being happy with who I am and learning to embrace the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know what I mean? The things that that I used to try to hide or fix or shy away from. I'm trying to learn to understand why what I am is beautiful. So that's kind of been my current wellness journey, in just kind of embracing who I am and not trying to fit somebody else's mold of what I should be. And I feel like that's my journey of wellness right now, because that ultimately brings joy in who I am and peace. And so that's where I'm at. Erynne, did you want me to just jump right into the INA updates?
In a minute, I wanted to acknowledge and speak to what you said. I so appreciate, Marcia, your transparency and your courage, because there's vulnerability in that statement. When one talks about self-love, kind of tossing it back to what Elizabeth said, sometimes that can be misconstrued or misperceived as being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
So I absolutely applaud your initiative to walk into self-awareness, because sometimes it's not easy, and I really do. I love the fact that you are clear about that's where you are right now. We live in a very competitive, nonstop, busy society. So it can be very easy. I am going to be very transparent. I'm not immune to it. It can be very easy to fall into the fear of missing out trap, or the keeping up with the Joneses. Well, what's that person doing? Okay, let me do that. And, while, incentives and inspirations, are great, if they are impeding our own growth, or, casting such a huge shadow that we have blind spots to ourselves, then it's really counterproductive. So I love that. I also love that although you didn't articulate this, I've noticed this just in, our interaction, that family is very important to you and your children are very important, important to you. And that's an aspect of wellness too, because that's the relational, the relationships aspect of it. So I love that that you're really excited about that. And just curious, how old are your children?
I have a 12-year-old who does not seem like a 12-year-old. You'd think she's 17. And then I
Uh-huh.
have a 9-year-old girl and a almost 7-year-old boy. He would definitely want you to know he is almost 7.
Oh, neat. So almost 7, 9, and 12. Love
Yes.
it. Oh, that's so cool. All right. So yes, you can take it away with the events.
Excellent. Well, I am going to share my screen real quick. My daughter Nadia heard me talking about her, and so she may. Can you guys see my screen? Can you guys see my screen? I hope so. I'm not
Yes,
hearing
we
from her.
can.
Okay, good.
Yes, I
Awesome.
can see it.
Awesome. Well, this is just a little PowerPoint that I put together so that you can just to share what's going on with you really quick. That's really loud, honey. So what are we doing? Upcoming events. Right now we have so much happening in June. June is like crazy. It used to be, I don't know if Helen remembers this, but it used to be like June was like we didn't do anything in June. But man, I'll tell you what, we have a lot going on. So actually tomorrow is the LA chapter meeting. And our chapter meetings are new, but they are open to everyone. They are virtual this year. So you can go ahead and I will put the links to all of these things in the chat after I'm done so that you can link right to registrations and stuff like that. So that's tomorrow evening. It's late for the East Coast, even later for Helen over there. But if you're on the West Coast, it's a good time for you. And then Thursday, we have our Ohio chapter meeting, which is around noon on Thursday, Eastern Standard Time. And then Saturday, we have our New York chapter meeting. So this is a busy week, especially for us. If you want to just jump in and see one of those things, each one of these chapter meetings has a get to know you section and also an educational portion. So you will learn something through it. Some of them are going to start being recorded if the presenter allows it, but we cannot guarantee that they will be recorded. So if you want to catch them, it's best to try to do that live. And then next Monday, we have our Mentorship Monday, which is made for INA members. So if you're an INA member, you can go to our member Facebook page that day and you will be able to talk with us about wellness even more. We're going to have some questions on there and discussion amongst people, so check that out. The following Monday is our Australian chapter meeting, so you can check that out, led by Louise. And you don't have to live in Australia to go. Anybody can join and get to know the people over there. And then the last thing that we have this month is actually once again with Erynne. She is going to share what she does with breath work, restorative breath work, and she might share a little bit more about that with you when she comes back on. But her webinar, she's presenting this free for INA members. This one will not be recorded, so you need to make sure that you're there live just because of the nature of it, and it is for INA members only. So the next thing I want to just touch base with you guys about is our monthly themes. You might have noticed that we have a kind of a theme going on. This month is wellness. Last month was leadership. Right now we still have our Be Well series for wellness coming out, and you may have noticed different blogs and videos that are shared, people's stories. Some people have created short videos, some people have done a blog post, some people are just choosing to participate in that through this kind of thing where they're just talking about things. But if you still want to participate, I have a couple of openings for either a short video or a blog post at the end of the month. You can just reach out to me and I'll tell you how to do that. It can be any topic of wellness, like physical, emotional, spiritual, any type of wellness. I mean, when we had this just a few minutes ago, we talked about all the different kinds of wellness. Whatever your story is, wherever you are, if you are open to sharing that with our community, I think people have found it really valuable to hear those stories. Our future monthly themes that we have going on, July is going to be a mission, August challenge, September is planning, October is connection, November is appreciation, and December is searching. Anyone at any time is welcome to share a blog post for that month. So if there is something that you have on your heart about challenge or connection, we would love for you to share a blog post about that so that you can connect with our audience and we can get to know you a little bit better too. So one real quick thing, I don't have all the details for this yet, but we are working on a series for September where we're opening it up to everybody. And sorry guys, there's a bee here apparently. It's a very sad thing. Anyway, so we're hoping that we can have a lot of people share their nanny nuggets. So little pieces of advice that you have about being a nanny and something that you have found in your however many years in the industry, really, really helpful. We would love to hear from you on that. And that is all that I have for you. I am going to stop the screen share and pass it back over to Erynne. I will put all of the links in the chat bar in a minute. Okay, thanks guys.
Marcia, thank you so much. All right, so again, I'm gonna flip the order of the suggested way I go into this. So when we got started, I shared how I am connected with the INA. I'll give a little bit more context and background. So I have been a nanny off and on for about 30 years. So I am borrowing this statement from another participant in a town hall that I love so much. So now I refer to myself as a nanny alum. And I became an INA member a few years ago from the recommendation of a fellow nanny that I was in a workshop with. And I so appreciated just her excitement about all that the INA stood for. So once I became a member, I absolutely loved and resonated with all of the resources that INA has available. I then attended the INA conference in New Orleans, which was super exciting because I was living in New Orleans at the time. So it was an opportunity for me to like really experience all that INA has to offer, you know, on a hands-on in-person basis. So I really, really loved that. And very excited that although I ended or completed a nanny assignment earlier this year here in San Francisco, that I get to remain in the community in a different context and capacity as INA's administrative assistant. So I really am appreciative of that thread that supports me and remaining connected to the community. And then here's an explanation of what I do in the industry. So I do a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats. Specifically, I like to show up, identify myself in the nanny community now, these days, as a certified breathwork facilitator. And I actually have been doing breathwork off and on for a number of years. And it was last year during the pandemic, during lockdown, that I became certified. I underwent extensive training. And originally I was doing it to just deepen my own practice. You know, when you're like required to stay indoors, you know, it definitely is advantageous to have modalities that keep one healthy and sane and in good spirits. And so after I completed the training, I realized I had like that light bulb moment. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this is something that can benefit a lot of people, everyone, especially nannies, especially live-in nannies. So it was over the last, those couple of months that I really set an intention to make sure that I could avail myself to offer this wellness modality, this healing modality to nannies. So if you are on social media, you might be aware of me there, and I also have clients outside of the nanny industry. And it's something that's very, very important to me because not only does it help individuals feel better, but it also facilitates and supports community. And I know, especially in the nanny industry, community among peers, I believe, is extremely important. Just because, pandemic or not, it can be a very environment specific profession where you are either in someone's home for a period of time, or you're in environments that you are devoting all of your attention to younger children. So really, really excited about that. And what I'm working on in the INA, aside from my day-to-day tasks as the admin assistant, I shared with another board member recently not only how excited I am about what I'm doing with the INA, also my intentionality about being here. For me, it's more than just, let me check this email, let me file this. It's like, okay, let me take a look at the grand landscape, see what opportunities there are for growth and community and inclusion, and how can I best support and partner with Marcia and the INA as a whole to ensure that this happens. So to ensure that, nannies who haven't heard of INA, or nannies who are looking to grow professionally and develop and or connect with other nannies, putting that awareness and presence of INA out there so they know that that support is there. This phrase is circulating through the ethers right now, and it's so true. You are not alone. We are not alone. And that applies to each and every person in the childcare industry. So obviously I have a very warm place in my heart for caregivers, for nannies. This also applies to nanny agencies, nanny agency owners. This also applies to parents who are looking to just really expand their awareness in terms of like how to best support their children's development with the assistance of a child caregiver. So just really pleased that I am here at this time where I can be an additional set of eyes and ears and perspective from my very specific background, where it can help and really move INA's mission statement of inclusion forward. So let's see here. I'm just looking here at my list here. I will offer some suggestions about how individuals both on this meeting and those who will be watching the video later can help support or help these projects. So as Marcia mentioned earlier, June is Wellness Month, and whatever wellness means to you. And I want to add, we definitely want to hear from you just in terms of like videos and, potential blog posts. Don't let, oh, well, like I'm not a professional videographer. Oh, I'm not a professional writer. Please don't let that stand in your way. If you are a nanny or a nanny agency owner or a parent of a nanny and you're like, you know what? Wellness to me is getting up 45 minutes before everybody else is awake, and I sit outside and I look at the sky and it clears clears my head. And then I go back inside, I have my coffee, and then I'm ready to go. That's wellness, and please share that. And it could be like, that could be the video. We are in this tech society where selfies and people walking around, holding their phones, speaking into them, making videos. We want to see that. We want to see transparency. We want to see the real you. Please share with us, because I'm pretty confident that 9 times out of 10, there might be another parent or a nanny agency owner, or a nanny, or a newborn care specialist who's just like, oh, I didn't even think about that. You mean I can get up a little bit early and just maybe sit outside and like look up at nature? Oh, I don't have to like travel, to a farm, or I can just like go outside. Like, thank you. So we definitely want to hear from you. There's no suggestion or modality that is too insignificant or too small. Please, share that with us. So let's dive into the actual discussion component of it. And in just listening to everyone, and being mindful of just how this is organically unfolding, I'd really like to speak to wellness in the workplace. We're all very, I'd like to think, very well versed and very experienced in, what it was like, or what it may be like if you're still in it, having to be indoors and having to deal with like all those, different challenges and opportunities. And most of us work, which is a blessing in itself. So I would like to speak to what you do, what's important for you to maintain wellness, and what are some things that you notice when wellness in the workplace isn't as abundant as it should be. So I'll start first. For me, the way that I practice wellness in the workplace is I do my best to set myself up for success prior to starting work. So as I mentioned earlier, not only am I a certified breathwork facilitator, I also practice breathwork on myself. I like riding my bike. Sometimes I like, I might write something, or I'll make a very, really delicious, very savory, healthy meal. All of those things allow me to show up in the workplace in a capacity where I feel good, I feel like I can put my best foot forward, and I feel that I can also support others that I work with. And then also, like, in the midst of being at work, I do take those moments. If there's a lull, say there was a lull between emails, I'll make it a point to look over, oh, got the flowers on my desk. Or, I might just like take a moment, take a nice, simple, yet very grounding breath. I was speaking with a wellness practitioner not too long ago here in the Bay Area, and she was sharing there are so many things you can do in your chair, so, oh, okay, I've got a lull. Let me stretch my arm. Let me wiggle my fingers. Let me wiggle my toes. Maybe like tap my head, so there is, a little bit of like stimulation activity. And just within those moments, within the workplace, I've now done something that gives me a little more juice, if you will, a little more oomph. So that's how I maintain wellness in the workplace. And if there's ever an opportunity where something unexpected or unplanned comes up, and that happens because it's called that wonderful 4-letter word, life, then I'm able to remember. It's just kind of like, oh no, oh, wait a second. All right, I can get through this. So I'm going to invite Rima to share with us, how do you cultivate, practice wellness in the workplace? And what are some of your indicators that wellness isn't there? And then how do you pivot to reestablish that?
So as a practice at our office, we a few times a year we try to spend some time outside of work with our coworkers. Maybe a little lunch outside. Nowadays, it's preferably outside, and luckily in California, we do have that kind of luxury of being at the park and maybe eat a little, something that we picked at the local cafeteria. And also, we've been organizing little events for our nannies, our candidates that we placed in the past, to stop by and receive a little gift, especially during a week of Nanny Appreciation Week. So, and it's been a great success. Seeing our beautiful candidates come into our office. Of course, not everybody can stop by. We try to make our working hours longer till 6 so that everybody can, well, at least as many as possible can stop by later after work. And it really is an incredible connection. We provide services, placing nannies, but then at the same time, we don't really get to see them as often, right? Maybe a couple of times stopping by. But during that moment when they come in and they pick up this little cute something, of course, we spend time to chat about life, about their jobs, about our agency, and it kind of like it stops time, and the work becomes a little bit, not a little bit, way more than work. It's not just job. It is a connection on a personal level. It also reminds us, why are we doing this? Why we love doing this? So I think, it's far away from a physical part, as I mentioned before, but this is the mental health part. And I can't wait till our next, this year, International Nanny Appreciation Week, and can't wait to start working on what kind of little gifts we can come up with, something that will make our nannies smile and go home happy. So I think that's, at this point, at least, we're still kind of in the pandemic mode. But as soon as it's possible, and we would be absolutely happy to go out there in the community, present our company outside of our norm or our realm. And of course, it's partially advertisement, and at the same time getting to know our audiences, our families and candidates. So anyway, but at this point, I think that's pretty much all that we can do. I'll be absolutely happy to hear some suggestions, and hopefully Marsha can share something. I know she's so incredible with ideas.
Rima, thank you so much. I love how you continuously speak to connection, because that is so important. And thank you for also speaking to the mental health benefit of connection, being connected to others. And it goes back to that statement, and it supports it so much. You are not alone. We are not alone. And I love how, and these are my words, and listening to you speak, it's almost as if your heart smiles at the opportunity that avails itself for you and your nannies all to come together and connect. And I love how you mentioned, the being outside aspect. I too am in California, and, not to um, exclude other geographical locations, I just think that we have some of the best weather and best nature here. So I love that you recognize that being out in nature, in community, is so, so beneficial. And I love that you um, look forward to doing things and creating spaces and activities that bring joy to others, and that's a form of wellness. Some people might use the language of, oh, that's service. It's just kind of like, depending on how you want to split the hairs, the fact that you are able to find joy and happiness and contentment and a sense of purpose in facilitating that for others is so beautiful. And it just speaks so well to you as a business person in this industry. As I said before, it's more than just being transactional. So thank you. And I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Is it Sarika? If you can unmute yourself. We so appreciate you joining us. Let's see, I'll see a few more seconds. Sarika? And you don't have to speak. I mean, we're more than happy to have you here. I just wanted to give you an opportunity. If you change your mind, you can put in the chat or raise your hand, and we would love to hear from you. So let's pass the microphone to Marcia. And Marcia, I would love for you to speak to wellness in the workplace, what that means to you. Do you practice it? How you practice it? And so forth.
Erynne, it's so funny to talk about wellness in the workplace because I am working right now. And in some ways, I am so lucky to have a job that is so flexible that I can sit outside and work while I watch my kids swim in the pool, right? That's amazing. But, with every job, there are benefits and there are, challenges to them. And I would say that my challenge is separating myself, but not necessarily not necessarily in the way that people think normally when you say that, separating yourself from the job. So many, many years ago, before I was even married, I took this, I love personality quizzes. Like I'm sort of a junkie for it. I took this personality quiz, and I think it was called like Life Quest or something. I can't even remember right now, but it basically gave you your top 5 like values, things that like are so like they're your core values. And what it explained is that in these 5 values are not just things that are important to you, but they like kind of become your core, the core of who your being is. And it was a truly enlightening experience. And if I can think of the name of it, I might actually put it in the chat bar too, because it was a really great tool for me. I was, in my 20s and I was a nanny, but I was trying to figure out like where I went next. The family that I had worked for a long time was moving. And so I was just trying to figure out what I was supposed to do. And one of the things that it showed was that responsibility was a core value of mine. And I've learned over the like 15 some years since I've taken that, how true that is. Because and basically I remember it saying something to the effect of, when you say that you're going to do something, it becomes part of you. And if you can't do it, it is a personal failure to you, which can be a really great thing and can make you a great employee, right? Because you always follow through with what you say you're going to do, but it can also like leak into your entire life. You know what I mean? And so that's one thing that I would say wellness for me is trying to always balance that, using that core of responsibility of who I am to be a good employee, to do the job, to help people, to service the industry, to all of those things, but not let it take over everything to the effect where, like, if I don't get a project done on time, or when I said I'll do it, or you know what I mean, when I thought I wanted to do it, or if something isn't quite right, that it doesn't personally affect everything else in my life, which is a challenge. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be real and give an example. We had this huge virtual summit this past fall, or this past winter, and I knew going into it, like, I'd put so much into it, and I knew that there was going to be things that went wrong, because there's things that go wrong in every event. But I knew the second that one thing went wrong, I was just going to, like, fall apart. And I kind of did a talk to myself. I'm like, it's okay to fall apart a little bit. It's okay, you invested a lot in this. I just have to, like, remind myself constantly that just, that yes, I want to do the job, and it's not wrong for me to have this as a core of who I am. It's not, there's nothing wrong with me in that. It's just that I have to be careful, because I can easily let that take over my time with my kids, my time with my husband, my friendships. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can get more emotional about things in a situation. And then, the other part of that is, when I do let that take over, because it does happen, remembering that I'm human and it's okay, and I just, okay, all right, I overreacted, or okay, like, I got way too emotional about that project, or and just forgiving myself for doing something I knew I shouldn't do, but I did anyways. So I don't know if that kind of helps, if that answers what you're talking about, but that's kind of how it most affects, I feel like, my work, at least right now.
Marsha, thank you so much. I was taking notes just because I didn't want to forget what to comment on. I so appreciate your transparency. I love how you opened up with your definition of wellness in the workplace, and how you execute it by coming from a place, or starting from a place, or being in a place of gratitude. So as you were speaking that, it was just kind of like that reminder light bulb went off in my head. So thank you for that. And gratitude in a real sense. It's not gratitude in the glossing over, but it's a gratitude of, like, what is so. So I so appreciate that, because I think that is a cornerstone, or a foundation of wellness in the workplace. Like you said, to be real, to simply be to be grateful for being able to work, having an opportunity to work. So thank you so much for that. And also thank you for speaking to the joys and sometimes the challenges of working from home. I know that you have a very active, almost 7, 9, and 12-year-old in the pool. How big is the pool, by the way?
It's not huge. It's
okay.
Like 10 feet wide around. It's like one of those circle ones that, like, the outside blows up, and as you fill it, it raises.
Gotcha.
So it's like maybe 2 feet, 3 feet deep.
Okay.
It's really more of like a splash around. Nobody's getting hurt in it, but I'm not leaving them by themselves anyways.
The protective mother hen. I love it. So just, the joys of working from home, and, pandemic or not, that's always been, what's that word? That's always been a model for some businesses and for some people. So work from home isn't anything new. And the pandemic amplified and gave more opportunities, if not requirements, to work from home for many individuals, including myself, who hadn't been doing that prior. So thank you for speaking to, you know, how one can incorporate wellness in that by, like you said, you're outside. I love it. Like I'm taking in that breeze as I see like those beautiful shears behind you, like flow in the wind, like stuff like that. That's gorgeous. You could have chosen to do this in the kitchen and just been like, I'll watch you through the window. But you know yourself enough to be like, it's also going to help me feel better to physically be outside. So that just speaks to your self-awareness. Thank you about that. I love the component that you shared about responsibility for a myriad of reasons, not only being responsible in the workplace, but being aware of how our language and expectations and beliefs about responsibility in the workplace, that if we're not fully present and aware, how it can go unchecked. And like you said, depending on where it is in the spectrum, impact, you know, how we show up in other areas. So like you were saying, you know, Marsha, what I was hearing, like, if you have that belief system of, if I say I'm going to do something and I don't, then there's that negative, you know, like connotation, feeling, all these other things, you know, does that same thing also show up in other areas of your life? So that was really profound, because we spend a lot of time in the workplace, if not most of our time. So thank you for that, because, you know, just in listening to you, it gives me, you, everyone here, hopefully, you know, anyone listening to this, an opportunity to revisit those belief systems that we have about work, and to kind of like step back and see like, okay, like, am I, you know, directly or indirectly applying this, you know, to other areas outside of work? And like, how is that working? You know, do I need to, like you said, have a conversation with myself, you know, maybe like change the script or change the language, or, you know, like come up with, you know, ways that I can show up in ways that if things don't go as planned, there's not this spiral of whether it's judgment or behavior that doesn't serve me. So that was really, really awesome. Like, I'm just like,
I realized after I wanted to let you know, it's called Strengths Quest.
Got it. Okay.
That's the name of the thing that I took, and I really highly recommend it to anyone sort of searching and trying to understand themselves more. It was really very enlightening. It gives you your top 5 strengths, and it's out of like 100 or something like that. These are, you know, adjectives that might describe you or whatever. And then it tells you like how they can be a positive, how they can be a negative, how you can use them in work, how you can use them in your relationships, or how they affect these things. And I thought that was really awesome, because, you know, I can handle learning those 5 things about myself and how I can use it better. Like I said, I took it in my 20s when I was kind of searching, but I mean, I would highly recommend it to anybody. It's not something just for kids or young adults. Do you know what I mean? It's really, and like I said, I'm not selling it. You use whatever, like there are a million different personality tests out there, but I do find them to be very helpful when talking about wellness, because they help you understand yourself and why you are wired the way you're wired. And there's nothing wrong with it. It is, you know, that's one thing that like I've had to learn about myself. And I kind of said it before, but I'm wired this way, that, you know, just because somebody else isn't wired this way doesn't mean it's I'm wrong or that they're wrong. This is just how we are, you know? And I think it's important to like figure out how to live in the world the way you are, and not try to be somebody else or like somebody else, because I think that that gets into a whole lot of other emotions that aren't healthy. So
Marsha, I love that. Again, like when you speak, I'm just like, oh, it's note-taking time. Like, I love the how you brought up the humanity aspect. You know, there are a lot of times where, you know, there are opportunities, or we are invited or challenged, depending on the experience, you know, to see the humanity in someone else, vice versa. It's equally important, to turn the mirror around so we can, see the humanity in ourselves. And I love that very transparent and empowering statement that you made about we are all wired differently, and as you were talking about that, it made me think of a foreign language. So I took French in school. Marcia, did you take a language?
Spanish.
Spanish. Okay. So you'll get what I'm talking about, and anyone else on this call or watching. So, you're communicating the same thing, but you're communicating it in a different way, like literally in a different language. So if I choose to say, hello, Marcia, hello, Rima, that is equally a valid way of communication. Or if I choose to say, bonjour, Marcia, or bonjour, Rima, that's fine too. Like, because one is in a different language doesn't make it wrong. It is simply different. So again, when you said that, it's just like, oh, enlightenment light bulb. So thank you so much for that. And I do want to say, as we're talking about, as we wrap this up, as we're talking about wellness in the workplace, yes, there is a lot going on this month, both, in our industry and outside of our industry. Things are opening up. The weather is wonderful. And speaking of wellness in the workplace, I invite you to put this on your calendar if it resonates with you, right here in Zoom land on Wednesday, June 30th at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am going to be participating in a webinar specifically for INA members, where I will be leading a brief breathwork session. And I would love for you all to be there. I mean, it's a great opportunity in a very kind of like micro session to breathe in a way that really just shifts things for you, especially after you've come off of a work day. And it'll be short and sweet, enabling you to like return to the great outdoors, and also supporting you to get a wonderful, night's sleep as you get ready to prepare for your work day the next day. But I offer that to you, as an INA member, and I hope that you can join us. And so before we go, I noticed that we did have two other individuals join. We're almost wrapping up, but I do want to give you all an opportunity to speak. So I know that I had asked a few times if you would like to share, how you practice wellness and, what wellness means to you, and especially in the workplace. Please feel free to unmute yourself and share. And I'll wait like a couple of moments. We definitely would love to hear from you. And if not, that's okay too. Sometimes the best way to show up is to listen and receive, and that is okay. All right, so we are wrapping up. I want to thank everyone who joined, and even if you had to depart early, we really appreciate your presence and your contribution. And please remember to check out all of our upcoming events. I know that Marcia included those in the chat, and of course, this will be available later on YouTube, on INA's YouTube channel, so you can watch it. But in closing, I want to leave you all with this. Be well in a way that makes you feel good. And I know that might seem kind of like, well, duh, but like Rima was saying, and I so love it, be well isn't just a saying, it's not a slogan, it's not a marketing campaign. It's an invitation for you to check in with yourself and just do those little things and big things that make you feel good. So on that note, thank you so much. Everyone, continue to be well for the rest of your work day and have a lovely day. Bye.